A new FBI report released just hours ago showing that the South is seeing the highest number of reported human trafficking cases.
In saving lives from fentanyl overdoses and in preventing, the loss of life with that. The thing I find interesting about this vaccine and I'm unsure about is it's preemptive. So are we then encouraging people
into the homes of people that you don't necessarily think are going to be affected? I think it would be really easy to chalk this up to, oh, it's Skid Row in LA, or it's this particular part of Philadelphia, or it's Portland.
At exactly 4:47 in the morning, the silence of a quiet suburban neighborhood was shattered by the sound of boots hitting the ground and doors being rammed open. More than 200 heavily armed agents from the FBI and ICE moved with military precision through the darkness. Flashbang grenades lit up the night sky like lightning. Tactical teams swept through luxury homes, sprawling warehouses, and hidden underground facilities with one clear mission: to dismantle a secret drug empire that had been operating in the shadows for years. What they uncovered that fateful morning was staggering. This was not a small-time operation run by street-level dealers. This was a highly organized, multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise, valued at over $540 million on the street. An empire so sophisticated that it moved tons of deadly narcotics across state lines every single month while hiding behind legitimate-looking businesses. The raid marked the dramatic end of what federal investigators called Operation Stone Corridor, a name that perfectly captured the hidden paths and stone-like tunnels used to transport poison into American communities.
I believe the footprints got undercover by an individual jumping from the
scale of this bust is almost hard to comprehend. Agents seized hundreds of kilos of pure fentanyl capable of killing millions. Mountains of cocaine bricks stacked high like cargo, industrial quantities of methamphetamine and heroin that filled entire storage units. Millions upon millions in cash were discovered hidden in creative ways, inside false walls, under floorboards, and in custom-built furniture designed specifically to conceal wealth. Luxury vehicles, properties, and bank accounts linked to the network were frozen on the spot. Dozens of key players were taken into custody, some of whom lived double lives as respected businessmen and community figures by day while running this deadly machine by night. How did such a massive empire grow so powerful without being noticed for so long? The answer lies in its professional structure and clever concealment methods. The leaders behind this operation did not fit the stereotype of flashy gangsters with gold chains and loud cars. Instead, they operated like a legitimate corporation. They created shell companies, import-export businesses, and logistics firms that appeared completely clean on paper. These fronts allowed them to move massive shipments of drugs while blending into everyday society. At the heart of the empire was the ingenious smuggling route known as the Stone Corridor. It consisted of a network of trucking paths, abandoned industrial buildings, old mining tunnels, and underground storage vaults that made detection extremely difficult. Drivers used specially modified vehicles with secret compartments capable of hiding hundreds of kilos at a time. Warehouses that supposedly stored construction materials or agricultural goods actually served as massive distribution hubs. Import companies brought in fruits and vegetables on official documents, but hidden within those shipments were some of the most dangerous substances flooding American streets today. The organization was built in careful layers to protect the top players. At the bottom were the street-level distributors and drivers who took the biggest risks. In the middle sat logistics coordinators and warehouse managers who handled the day-to-day movement of product. At the very top was a small, tight-knit group of leaders who rarely touched the drugs themselves. They issued orders through heavily encrypted communication apps, changed phones frequently, and used multiple layers of middlemen to stay completely off the radar. This structure minimized their exposure while maximizing profits. Their money laundering operation was equally impressive and dangerous. Millions of dollars flowed through fake charities, real estate investments, and seemingly legitimate businesses. Cash was cleaned so effectively that it became nearly impossible to trace back to its criminal origins. Some of the profits were used to buy luxury mansions in gated communities, high-end cars, and even to influence local networks. While families in affected neighborhoods suffered from rising overdoses and addiction, the architects of this empire lived in comfort, detached from the human devastation they caused. For years, this system worked with terrifying efficiency. The empire expanded across multiple states, establishing hubs in border regions and major Midwest cities. Tons of cocaine, methamphetamine, fentanyl, and heroin entered the country and spread like a virus through communities. Overdoses skyrocketed in certain areas. Families were torn apart. Young lives were lost to addiction. Yet the operation remained largely invisible because of its corporate-like professionalism and sophisticated counter-surveillance techniques. The leaders changed vehicles regularly, avoided patterns, and maintained plausible deniability at every level. The beginning of the end started with what seemed like a routine traffic stop. Months earlier, highway patrol officers pulled over a large semi-truck for a minor violation. When they inspected the trailer, they discovered vacuum-sealed packages containing millions of dollars worth of fentanyl and methamphetamine. That single discovery sent immediate alerts to the DEA, FBI, and ICE. Investigators began piecing together fragments of information: phone records, financial transactions, GPS data from multiple vehicles, and surveillance from encrypted messaging platforms that the traffickers believed were secure. As the puzzle came together, federal agents realized they were facing something far more dangerous than an isolated shipment. This was a professional, international-level network with connections stretching beyond U.S. borders. The more they dug, the clearer the picture became. Hidden vaults stocked with narcotics worth tens of millions. Cash piled floor to ceiling in secure locations, weapons caches prepared for protection, advanced counter-surveillance methods that included frequent device changes and the use of multiple intermediaries. The sophistication rivaled that of major transnational organizations. Federal investigators officially launched Operation Stone Corridor to target this network. Surveillance intensified over several months. Undercover operations gathered critical evidence. Financial analysts traced the flow of dirty money. Logistics experts mapped the hidden corridors and tunnels that formed the backbone of the smuggling route. Every piece of intelligence pointed to the same conclusion: this empire was responsible for flooding communities with deadly drugs while generating enormous profits. The tension built steadily as the operation approached its climax. Agents worked around the clock, coordinating across multiple agencies and jurisdictions. Prosecutors prepared charges that would ensure lengthy prison sentences. The goal was not just to make arrests, but to completely dismantle the infrastructure that allowed this empire to thrive. Every detail was planned with military precision to ensure the raids happened simultaneously across numerous locations, leaving no time for the targets to destroy evidence or escape. In the pre-dawn hours, over 200 federal agents launched a coordinated storm. Teams simultaneously hit luxury homes in upscale neighborhoods, sprawling warehouses on the outskirts of cities, suspected money laundering offices in commercial districts, and hidden storage facilities. The scenes were intense and chaotic. Body camera footage captured agents shouting commands as they breached doors. Suspects were caught completely off guard, some still in sleepwear, others desperately attempting to flush or hide evidence as flashlights cut through the darkness. One location after another revealed shocking discoveries. In luxury residences, agents found narcotics hidden in everyday household items. In warehouses, they uncovered mountains of drugs packaged for distribution. In underground compartments and old tunnels, they located vaults containing hundreds of kilos of pure product. Millions in cash were seized from creative hiding spots, inside walls, fake furniture, and specially designed safes. Luxury vehicles parked in driveways were impounded. Properties were secured as evidence. The total haul from Operation Stone Corridor was breathtaking. Narcotics with a combined street value exceeding $540 million. Cash, vehicles, real estate, and financial assets linked to the network were all seized. Dozens of individuals were arrested, including key figures who had maintained respectable public images while secretly orchestrating this deadly trade. Some of those taken into custody held positions that sent shockwaves through their local communities. Men who attended charity events and business meetings by day, but allegedly ran a sophisticated narcotics empire by night. The contrast was chilling. Publicly, they appeared as successful entrepreneurs and community leaders. Privately, their decisions contributed to waves of addiction, overdoses, and suffering in neighborhoods across the country. The raid exposed not only the drugs and money, but also the human cost hidden behind the profits. In the hours and days following the operation, federal prosecutors began building strong cases. Charges included conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, money laundering, and potentially racketeering offenses under RICO statutes that could result in life sentences for the top leaders. Investigators continue to dig deeper, examining possible connections to corrupt insiders who may have facilitated the operation or looked the other way. Questions remain about how such a large-scale network evaded detection for so long despite its massive footprint. For the communities impacted by this empire, the bust brings a measure of relief and hope. Every kilo of fentanyl and methamphetamine removed from the streets means fewer lethal doses available to vulnerable individuals. Every arrest disrupts the supply chain that has caused so much pain and loss. Families who have lost loved ones to addiction may find some small comfort knowing that part of the machine responsible has been shut down. At the same time, law enforcement officials caution that the fight is far from over. When one smuggling corridor is closed, determined traffickers often seek new routes and methods. The sophistication of these networks continues to evolve, requiring constant vigilance and cooperation between agencies like the FBI and ICE. Operations like Stone Corridor demonstrate what is possible when federal forces coordinate effectively and commit fully to protecting public safety. This case also serves as a powerful reminder of the broader battle against organized crime and drug trafficking. Behind every large seizure and every arrest statistic are real human stories. Families destroyed, communities scarred, and young lives cut short by addiction. It highlights both the darkness of these criminal enterprises and the dedication of the men and women in law enforcement who work tirelessly to confront them. The success of Operation Stone Corridor sends a clear message to anyone considering similar paths. No empire is untouchable. When agencies combine intelligence, resources, and determination, even the most carefully constructed criminal networks can be brought down. The hidden corridors can be exposed. The profits can be seized. The leaders can be held accountable. As details of the investigation continue to emerge, the full extent of the damage caused by this empire may become even clearer. Financial records, communication logs, and witness statements will likely reveal more layers of the operation. Some connections may reach further than initially expected, raising important questions about oversight and vulnerabilities in the system. For now, the streets are a little safer because of the work done in those early morning hours. The warehouses stand empty of their deadly cargo. The luxury homes that once hid secrets are now under scrutiny, and the individuals who profited from suffering are facing justice. This operation stands as a testament to what coordinated federal action can achieve. It shows the importance of persistent investigation, smart intelligence gathering, and decisive execution. It also underscores the ongoing need for public awareness and support for the agencies tasked with protecting communities from these threats. What stands out most in this story is the level of planning and professionalism on both sides. The criminals who built a corporate-style empire and the agents who ultimately dismantled it. The hidden tunnels, the layered structure, the sophisticated laundering schemes, all of it points to a new era of organized crime that requires equally advanced responses from law enforcement. As more information surfaces in the coming weeks and months, this case will likely serve as a benchmark for future operations. It demonstrates that no matter how clever or well hidden a network appears, dedicated investigators can find the cracks and bring the entire structure down. The human impact cannot be overstated. Every parent who has lost a child to fentanyl, every community dealing with open-air drug markets, and every family struggling with addiction knows the real cost behind the headlines. Operations like this offer hope that the tide can be turned when law enforcement receives the resources and support needed to do their job effectively. In the end, Operation Stone Corridor is more than just a big drug bust. It is a story of shadows and light, of criminal ingenuity met with determined justice. It reminds us that while the battle against drug empires is complex and ongoing, decisive victories are possible when agencies work together with focus and resolve. The corridors have been closed, at least for now. The empire has fallen, and the work to protect communities continues every single day. If stories like this matter to you, stories of major federal raids, shocking discoveries, in the fight against organized crime, consider supporting channels that bring these important cases to light. Share your thoughts below on what surprised you most about this operation. Was it the massive $540 million valuation, the hidden underground routes, or the double lives of those involved? Your comments help these critical stories reach more people who need to hear them. Thank you for staying with this breakdown until the end. These cases reveal the reality behind the headlines and show why vigilance remains essential. Stay informed, stay aware, and remember that every major takedown starts with persistent investigation and coordinated action. The fight continues, and operations like Stone Corridor prove that justice can prevail when the full weight of federal law enforcement is brought to bear.